It's easy for viewers of my channel to see that I enjoy vintage reloading equipment. Several of my videos revolve around that interest. I have 3030 on the Lyman turret, which features a Lyman True Line Junior turret press. I have Easy Win, which has a Lyman Ideal Easy Loader. I have a video titled Russian Roulette, which shows loading 762x39 on a Lee Automator, which is a Pro 1000 based add-on for single stage presses that turns it into a progressive. I like to look for these products in online auctions on eBay. I've found some things on Craigslist, and I've found some things at local gun shows. Sometimes they come along easily, and other times they're a bit elusive. And recently, in this eBay listing, I'm seeing one of the things that I've found to be somewhat elusive. It looks like an everyday, rusty Lee Pro 1000 progressive press. When I looked at the second picture, I noticed this wire. And you can see that wire again in this picture. It's popping up through the case feeder. In this view, I can see the top of that wire and the sharp bend in it. In this view, you can see the wire again. And this picture shows the end of it. So hidden behind this post is the sharp bend. Comes back down, does a 90-degree bend, and goes into a hole in the shell plate carrier. And I also see this down here, this add-on to the bottom of the shell plate carrier. And then in this view, here's a good view of the whole wire. The 90-degree bend where it enters the shell plate carrier. It comes up, makes a very sharp bend, comes down this way, and then has an end. So the reason this wire has caught my attention is if we look at the Lee Precision website and go to instructions and scroll way down to the bottom, they have a listing of their discontinued products and documentation for them. Way down to the bottom, we can look at the Pro 1000. Pro 1000 red aluminum base pre-2012. Let's look at the old one first. I've always noticed in this old documentation for the Pro 1000 this line right here, primer gate, not on all models. And here's that piece of wire that we saw in the pictures on the eBay listing. Let's flip back to that real quick. There's that wire. Now you can see that it's up in this picture. In the documentation it's showed down. It will pivot around where it's in the shell plate carrier. So envision this rotating towards the viewer and back down this way, and it would be just like this, and then the wire turns that sharp bend and goes upward again. And from the way it looks there, to me, it appears that that end of that wire, this part right here, would rotate down and around, and that end would go here into this recess. There isn't any other mention of this primer gate system or this wire anywhere in the documentation for the Pro 1000. And then if we go to the newer documentation, still the obsolete version of the Pro 1000, we've entered the digital age and we have a much better illustration. Here's our wire. It comes into the hole in the shell plate carrier just above the pinch bolt that holds the shell plate carrier to the press ram. 90-degree bend, the sharp bend, and then the end comes back up. Now you can't see that extra piece that's on the bottom that shows in the auction photo here. That doesn't seem to show in the Lee instructions. And once again, this version of the instructions says nothing about that system at all. And if I scroll down to where it shows more about the carrier and changing out the carrier, sometimes you get a glimpse of what maybe looks like the other end of that wire, or the hole just above the pinch hole. They call it the clamp screw, just above the clamp screw. And then if we look down here further in some more illustrations of the shell plate carrier, it does not show the hole. Some shell plate carriers have the hole, others do not. I've never seen a Pro 1000 press in person that has the primer gate system. I've only seen online pictures maybe 3 times. This eBay auction is probably the best illustration that I've seen of the actual pieces, and because of that I decided to purchase the press. I really didn't want to pay $65, but I'm very curious about the primer gate system. I like Pro 1000 presses. This one's probably just going to end up being an experiment to look at and figure this system out. Well, here's the package with the old Pro 1000. Let's take a look. We know it's going to be rusty, but what we're really after is that primer gate system. The rest of it doesn't really matter. Nicely packed. Lots of tape. I think we're going to cut it. Sometimes I peel the tape off and save the wrapping, but I have so much bubble wrap that none of this matters anymore. And the RAM is indeed rusty, just like in the video, or the picture I should say. Okay, so here we go. I can see there's the wire right there. I don't know how good that's going to show on the view that I have, and indeed it is stuck in the holder. So let's see if the press will run up. It's pretty rusty. Okay, that will flip around and go down where it's supposed to go. I don't really see anything on the bottom of the press. Let's see if I can get this where I can. Alright, that was an optical illusion that I was seeing, that there was something additional added to this. This system is much simpler than I ever thought it would be. All it does is this piece of wire, the piece of wire simply goes down below the shell plate carrier. It just goes down and blocks the hole. That's all it does. So really, all the system is this piece of wire. So you could take this piece of wire, I'm blocking the view. All the system is this piece of wire, and it looks like it's got a little bit of a bend in it because it was jammed or whatnot, and it just goes down, and the end of it goes in the recess that clears the primers in the RAM, and this blunt end simply blocks it so that the primers can't come off. It looks to me like this piece of the wire needs to be straightened out a little bit there so it'll clear, and then this primer gate, if you will just stay down there and block it. And probably what happens is when it's at the bottom of the stroke, it probably pivots and lets the primer out. Wow, that's a lot simpler than I thought it would be. All in all, it's not a bad Pro 1000. I can clean this up other than maybe the RAM. The RAM down here on the bottom is looking pretty bad, but the rest of it will clean up fine. These toggles crack and you can't buy them anymore. You have to convert the press to the new style, so if nothing else, this is viable for the index rod. The shell plate carrier is probably fine, as are the case feeder parts. So there's plenty good to use here, but the primer gate system is much simpler than I anticipated. It looks like it's simply one piece of wire that swings down and goes into the cutout in the RAM that blocks the primers from falling out. So that's pretty interesting. That sure looks like a number 4, which would be for 380. It would also work with 223. I'll grab a case and see if it'll go in. Here's a 223 case. We'll see if it goes in. Yeah, that looks like a number 4 shell plate, which that's one that it doesn't hurt to have an extra. The turret is certainly going to be okay. A little dirty, but it's okay. Index rod will be okay. The whole press will clean up. The only thing that I see that may not be salvageable is maybe the RAM. The RAM looks like it may have suffered some pretty serious rust there, but that might polish up too. So if you guys got ideas of what I should do with this old Pro 1000, put them in the comments. I've cleaned up the press enough to get it to operate. Let's see how it works. I've got the primer gate adjusted. I've got a decapping die up top. We'll try to decap some 380 and see how it works. The press isn't running as smooth as it could, but it's not bad for as much rust as on it. So there's a piece of brass loaded in. Let's go up and decap it. The primer gate didn't stop it, it still made it past. I see the mechanism where it's supposed to work. You're supposed to come back down and then it swings out and opens up the hole. Let's try it again. Here's another. It closed. There's the decap. It did stop the primer that time. Let's see if it releases it at the bottom. Indeed it did. As soon as the primer gate hit the casting and opened, it let the primer fall through. Let's try another. That one went out. So there might be a little more adjustment needed to stick that up into the hole a little further. Oh, I don't have a case ejector on there, so it's not kicking them out. That's pretty funny.